I'm going to address a very important question that keeps on coming up all the time from you guys. I know you see a lot of systems, you evaluate a lot of systems, but here's a critical question that everybody tends to ignore, which is many vendors say theirs is an integrated system. What does it really mean? So really there are two types of different systems out there. Every vendor now pretty much has a single system that does EMR, that does PM or practice management and billing in one package. So is this an integrated system or not? And why should you care? So let's take a look at that. There are, as far as you're concerned, there are two important things that matter to you: EMR and billing, right? So here's your EMR and here's billing. Now, many systems out there, they call themselves best of breed. So as a user, it is a single system because you access it through a single login ID and so on. But EMR can have its own database and billing would have its own database. So let's go through the workflow to see what really happens when so here you have the patient, you have the patient's demographics, you have the insurance information stored pretty much you have to store them at both places, right? So when you see the patient comes in, you create an encounter and you do the coding. So you pick the ICD and the CPT code as a part of your exam routine. So when you do the routine, it then creates and passes that code onto the billing system to create a claim. Now, your biller is going to access this part of the system to send the claim to the clearinghouse. Then you get paid by the insurance company and it goes to the secondary, and there might be a patient responsibility. So now there's a patient responsibility which your biller is going to pursue with the patient. Well, guess what? The front desk needs to know if there is an outstanding balance when the patient comes in for a check-in, right? So this data for the patient check-in must go back into the patient's file. So what is really happening here is that you're seeing a lot of data back and forth between two systems. Now, I'm drawing this bi-directional arrow, which means that to you as a user, the vendor will say, the software person will say, well, why do you care? Because we're doing the data interfacing, we'll build the bridge between the two systems. So to you as a user, it appears seamless. I perfectly understand and I grant that. Now here's the question. Anytime there is a bridge, there is always a chance of something falling through the cracks, okay? So now you're duplicating the data. The data integrity is not as strong as it should be. This is my problem with a system that is built with bridges. Now, how do you know if a system is built with bridges or not? And I'll address that in a minute. But let me show you what happens in a truly integrated system, okay? So instead of these two different disparate systems that are joined with a bridge, you would just have one system with the EMR and billing and one database. So the entire workflow that we talked about earlier is stored in a single database. So there's no data to go back and forth. It's right there. When a patient has an outstanding balance and the patient comes in during the check-in process, your front desk should see the outstanding balance right there. If a patient makes that payment at the check-in or on the phone when they call the billing staff, it should update everywhere. There shouldn't be data, oh, I have to put it there and I have to put it there. It's everywhere, accessible to everybody at all times. That is the beauty of a true integrated system. Now, why would people see the distinction? So here's what happens, and how should you know if it is an integrated system or two different systems? Well, there's multiple ways, but without getting too technical, what you should ask is, tell me the history of your company. How did the company start? Chances are that many of these companies started out A, as a billing software company, or B, as an EMR company. And then they realized, oh, you know what? We need to add a billing component to our EMR. So guess what? It is difficult to have a really strong billing software. So what many companies did is they went and acquired a billing software, right? When they acquired a billing software, then they had to build that bridge to connect the two, all right? And they might have done a great job from a user interface and so on, but it is still two. So one way to find out is to ask the company of their background and their history. Some companies, and I'm telling you, there are very few companies who are built from ground up with a single database in mind, all right? So it was perceived, it was designed as a single cohesive system. So what you want to do is you want to buy a system that is designed to be a single cohesive system. And trust me, it is going to help you in the long run. You may not see it from a user interface perspective, but in the long run, it will serve you well.